Good morning, everyone. Uh, I welcome you all to this startup webinar. Uh, I personally welcome our Secretary Shri Kanta Rao ji and Secretary DST Abhay Kandikar ji. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out time for this inaugurating this webinar. Ministry of Mine has been working in the past to increase the exploration and operationalization of mines with the intention of increasing the mineral production in the country. With startups being India being the uh, having a vibrant startup having a vibrant startup scenario in India, we are trying to include startups in the mining sector. And with this intention, this S&T PRISM has been introduced by Ministry of Mines to encourage funding for the startup. And this webinar is being conducted to deliberate further on the issues pertaining to S&T PRISM. We have with us today Director JNRDC, who would be giving the details about the program. And we also have with us the industry representative in the form of Mr. Amitesh Sinha from the Vedanta and Shri Rohit Pathak, CEO, Hindalco, who have been dealing with the startups in the mining sector for their experience sharing with us. We are also having on board with us today two startups who have been funded by us in year 2023 under the S&T PRISM scheme. And I hope that this scenario will provide a good opportunity for all of us to deliberate further on the issue. I would request all to be connected in the webinar. We are having the polls, and where your responses to the same would enable us to take this initiative further. Also, the chat box is open, and you can send your messages on the chat box. Though at the end of the session, there will be a question and answer session. But in between, in case if you want to ask something, please write it on the chat box. We have our experts sitting there to respond to it. With these words, I would request our secretary to please open the this. Welcome. Secretary.
So thank you very much. I want to welcome all the participants for the mining startup webinar today. And most importantly, I want to specially welcome the chief guest of today's webinar, Professor Abhay Karandikar, who is extremely busy today. And I'm so happy to see him smiling and ever smiling, who has given us time today to be a part of this webinar. And I had the opportunity to work with Professor Karandikar for the last 1.5 years while I was in the telecom sector. But now in this, when he has moved from IIT Kanpur to DST and I've moved from telecom to mines, it is again a different kind of interaction with a lot of scope and opportunities that he presents. I am so happy that Professor Karandikar is going to give us the inaugural address today. The idea of having this seminar, the idea of having this seminar through a webinar mode is that more and more people can be connected. They need not travel all the way here. And I'm told about 200 people are registered for today's event, most of them startups. It is a good indication because startup companies have not heard of mining sector much. We made a small beginning this year in trying to attract startups into the mining sector by giving them some funding. For the first time, we have given funding to 6 startups. Till now, we have been doing a lot of innovative work through the R&D organizations of the Government of India, like the CSAR labs and institutions under our own ministry, like the Aluminium Development Center, so on and so forth. But I'm sure you will get to hear something from the startups also in today's seminar. They will talk about their experience. Now, having started the introduction of startups in the sector, we plan to increase the scope and the funding for startups this year. And therefore, we issued an advertisement, a call for proposals, for which, as my JS mentioned, the last date is 30th of April. And we want to reach out to more and more startups through the academic institutions, through the incubation centers, and to the startups directly through webinars like this. And Professor Karandikar has assured us that he will help through the network of institutions that are under his ministry to reach out to incubation centers and startups for requesting them to look at this sector, which is considered a very traditional sector, but now it is changing with the coming in of the importance of critical minerals, the processing of critical minerals, the recycling of some of these minerals. It is becoming a very, very important sector of future. So with this idea, I would request all the participants in today's seminar to explore new opportunities, ask a lot of questions, and see what are the areas where they can venture into. In fact, some of the industry leaders are also participating in today's seminar, where they can actually tell you what are the problem statements, and you can start working on those problem statements. In fact, one of the problem statements which my ministry has is actually the processing of geological data. We have vast amount of geological data for all the 33 million square kilometers, 33 lakh square kilometers of India's land, and also another 20 lakh square kilometers of offshore area. All the data needs to be analyzed to find good inferences as to where the mineral can be found. So in this context, Secretary DST has also said that we can do some kind of a hackathon. He had good ideas on that. So we will be doing a lot in the coming time in doing innovative work in the mining sector, starting from data analysis to actually processing of the minerals found under the earth and under the sea. So let us make use of the opportunities that are coming up, and also make use of the support that the government is planning to provide, and submit good proposals by 30th of April, and make sure that we are all part of the journey for an Atmanirbhar Bharat in the mining sector. Thank you very much. आप बोलिए ना. So then let's have a speech. Secretary.
I now request Secretary DST to please inaugurate the seminar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Kanta Rao, I think Secretary, Ministry of Mines, all the colleagues in the Ministry of Mines, my other distinguished colleagues from academia who have joined. I see Professor Asim Tiwari from IIT Bombay, and other participants from industry and startups. Let me first begin by congratulating the Ministry of Mines for taking a very, very important and a much needed step to support and nurture the startups in the area of mining. I mean, this is really a laudable effort because, as I think Mr. Kantarao mentioned, that mining has been considered as a very traditional area in India. But elsewhere, there has been a significant use of technology, not only in the process of extraction, separation, chemical processing, etc., but also in data processing and computational material science as well. So there is a huge possibility of developing a startup ecosystem in one of an important area of the deep tech sectors, that is, very critical minerals. The Department of Science and Technology has been playing a critical role in nurturing the startup ecosystem. Uh, we have been setting up incubators and centers of excellence across all the academic institutions for the last several years. Since year 2016, when the government of India had launched the Startup India initiative, the DST has set up, the scheme called Nidhi, which is National Initiative for Developing and Harnessing Innovations. And under this Nidhi umbrella scheme, there were, many programs like Nidhi Prayas or Nidhi Centers of Excellence and Nidhi Startup Support System. Uh, and overall, I think over the last 6, 7 years, the Nidhi program has supported 12,000 startups in almost 170 incubators across academic institutions, which includes IITs and IISc and triple ITs and so on. Now, as you know that India has emerged the third largest startup ecosystem in the country. There are more than 1 lakh startups, almost 1,20,000 startups. However, only I think 7 to 8,000 startups are in the deep tech area. And one of the important deep tech area, I believe, is exploration and processing in the sectors of critical minerals. And critical minerals, as you know, play an important role in many sectors, particularly like in clean energy transitions or even battery materials for electric vehicles. India's, in fact, clean energy targets, if you look at it either in the form of electric vehicles or in the form of the renewable sectors, the demand for these materials are actually quite significant. Now, rare earth elements are also very crucial strategic material for the country. India, in fact, has the world's fifth largest, rare earth mineral reserve. However, the process of extraction, separation, as I mentioned, and then converting them into metal or alloys has been traditionally, found to be very cumbersome, has been using, hazardous technologies. And I think there is a need for innovations in these sectors to have, environmental friendly, non-hazardous, technology which can be developed indigenously. Uh, at the same time, I think we also need to give emphasis on the computational material science, the use of new age technologies such as machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I see in the program, Professor Asim Tiwari is, going to give a talk in this area. So I see a significant opportunity for the deep tech startups to explore this entire field of materials and minerals, to make not only a national impact, but also really make our country self-sufficient and Atmanirbhar. Uh, Today, we are standing at a pivotal junctions, and we are very well positioned to steer our efforts towards the development of indigenous technology, given the fact that we have a very positive and enabling environment. And in this context, I think this supporting the startup scheme is also forms one of the important steps of the government regarding its commitment to fostering research and innovations in the sectors of mining and mineral processing. From the Department of Science and Technology, we would like to definitely explore the possibility of collaborating and partnering with the Ministry of Mines to strengthen the initiatives, which is like the PRISM that is being launched today. As I already mentioned, that through our Nidhi centers of excellence and Nidhi incubators, we have a large network of incubators, and those incubators can actually be tapped to nurture the startups which can be supported through this PRISM program. Our joint focus can be on promoting the startups and MSMEs, and of course, we can come up with the areas in which these supports can be done. One area which was mentioned by the Secretary Mines also is the processing of the geological data, which is available using modern techniques such as AI to help in the exploration of minerals. And this can definitely be done through the hackathons, which can be launched in the incubators, which are being supported by DSTs in IITs and other universities across the country. We would be happy to work with this program. We can offer our huge amount of sort of an expertise that DST has gained by launching similar programs for supporting the startups that, so that, these mistakes maybe which were committed by us in the past, as being the initiator of these programs, they need not be sort of repeated here. So we can definitely offer those learnings. And as I mentioned, we will be happy to work with the Ministry of Mines to see that how we can strengthen and nurture the entire ecosystem of startups in this area. So once again, I would like to congratulate the entire team of the Ministry of Mines for initiating this exercise. There is a lot of capacity and talent in our country, and I hope we will be able to get good proposals from the startups responding to this call, which actually can be supported, eventually. So therefore, I would really urge all the startup participants who are there to make use of this opportunity, which is now being offered by the government and through Ministry of Mines to see that, whatever is the technologies that they are working, they can leverage this funding support, and we can become actually self-sufficient in many of the technologies which either relates to mineral exploration, extractions, or efficient recycling, or developing technologies to develop battery storage materials, or new materials through the computational material science, or cost-effective and environmental friendly purification technologies, and so on. So there is a whole lot of areas which are there. Of course, I'm not an expert in this area, but I hope that we will be able to get good proposals through this call. We will be also happy to publicize this in our network of incubators as well, so that we can really get a cohort of good startups supported in this program. So once again, thank you very much for making me a part of this. I hope that we will have a very successful program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your encouraging words and your offer to help us in this endeavor. I would request you, sir, that we will be just showing a video clip of 3 minutes. Please stay connected.
लेफ्ट साइड में है ना उसी आइकन में लेफ्ट साइड में था ना. एक मिनट होल्ड करिए. Can you see the video, Professor Karandikar?
Yeah, I can see. I can
audio
see.
and video both are clear.
Okay. दोबारा चलो.
This time the audio is gone. First time you started, the audio was there. Now the audio is gone.
आपका ऑडियो चला गया है.
We'll share it again. It's a small video. We'll just share it again.
The first time you played, the audio came. So.
Oh.
Second time, I think it didn't come. I don't know why.
How is it now? Is the audio there now?
No.
No, the audio is not there.
आपको स्पीकर देखो राइट में देखिए स्पीकर ऑफ लग रहा है उस ऑडियो का राइट में नीचे the icons I think.
Is it fine now? Share नहीं हुआ होगा. चलाइए. Is it there now?
No, sir.
Okay. दोबारा करिए.
ऑडियो इधर से दिखा रहा है ना. हाँ, ये ऑफ था.
Fueled by a record $8.4 billion funding in 2023, India's startup ecosystem is experiencing unprecedented growth. This surge is being driven by a young, tech-savvy population.
Is it there now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Growing middle class and a supportive government. Fueled by a record $8.4 billion funding in 2023, India's startup ecosystem is experiencing unprecedented growth. This surge is being driven by a young, tech-savvy population, a growing middle class, and a supportive government. The Ministry of Mines is just one example, promoting startups to contribute to the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission of self-reliance. In a bid to energize the mineral and mining sector with fresh ideas, the Ministry of Mines held the inaugural Mining Startup Summit in May 2023, partnering with the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. This successful event highlighted the ministry's commitment to fostering innovation, leading them to expand their support to research and innovation initiatives for startups and MSMEs. further solidifying this commitment, the Ministry released guidelines in November 2023, specifically for promotion of research and innovation in startups and MSMEs in mining, mineral processing, metallurgy and recycling sector. To spearhead these S&T PRISM efforts, the Ministry designated the Jawaharlal Nehru Aluminium Research Development and Design Centre or JNARDDC in Nagpur as the implementing agency. The Ministry of Mines' S&T PRISM initiative offers a unique opportunity for startups, MSMEs and individual innovators. This program invites proposals for projects up to 2 years long that focuses on the mineral sector with a particular emphasis on practical and sustainable solutions for mining and industrial applications. S&T PRISM acts as a bridge, providing funding to help promising idea transition from development to commercialization. This reduces unnecessary hurdles and empowers these innovators to reach a stage where they can attract investment from angel investors, venture capitalists, or secure loans from traditional financial institutions. The Ministry of Mines' S&T PRISM program saw strong participation with 56 startups and MSMEs submitting proposals. After a rigorous evaluation process, 5 impressive ventures were chosen based on the significant milestones they achieved during the program. In a ceremony that was held this March 2024, these 5 startups received well-deserved financial grants totaling INR 6 crore to further fuel their innovative journeys. Come join hands in nation building with a goal for Viksit Bharat. Don't miss out. Applications are now open for the S&T PRISM program run by JNARDDC, offering grants to startups, MSMEs and individual innovators in the mining sector. The deadline to submit your proposal is fast approaching, so apply by April 30th, 2024.
अच्छा ये वेबिनार में ताली नहीं बजा सकते अब you thank DST secretary.
Thank you, sir. I thank Secretary DST for taking out time to be here for our encouragement. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I need to leave because I have another program going on.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think
We
we'll
know
be
that,
happy to
sir. You
work.
have taken out so much time for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Karandikar.
Thank-
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Namaskar.
Now I request Dr. Agnihotri to give a presentation on S&T PRISM.
Hear that? So, good morning. Let me welcome Shri Kanta Rao ji, Secretary Ministry of Mines, to this mining webinar, and also the participants who have joined this webinar. I thank you all for sparing your valuable time and to be part of this program. Very first slide. So I'll be just talking in a nutshell about this S&T PRISM scheme, which covers the startups basically in the area of mining, mineral processing, metallurgy and recycling sector. Next, please. So if you see the science and technology program of Ministry of Mines, it has got 3 components. One is research and development, which provides funds for undertaking research and development projects. This R&D component of S&T scheme of Ministry of Mines has 2 riders. Number 1 is the proposals are to be to develop something above TRL level, up to TRL level 7. Second rider is the proposal should come along about 20% funding from the industry to authenticate the importance of the proposal submitted. Second is what we are here for today is the promotion of research and innovation mining in startups and MSMEs in mining, mineral processing, metallurgy and recycling sector. There is a complete guideline on website of Ministry of Mines for this particular components. The one rider which I like to share with you here also, at least 25% funding should be from own or from the other support. for the submitted startup proposals. Third is information, education, and communication. This is a scheme to promote the promotional events like conferences, seminars, and this is for national as well as international promotional events. For national, the funding provided is about 5 lakhs. For international, the budget is of 10 lakhs. Next, please. Now, coming just to how this PRISM scheme started, it was sometime in May 2023. Ms. Farida has already shared there was a mining startup in Mumbai where it was felt that although we have got 113 unicorns, but most of them are in IT or software industry. It was thought of having a deep tech sort of a startups, and there was a requirement to push this, and this is where it started. And we had this scheme launched sometime on 15th November. That is known as, we call it PRISM 1.0. So let me share with you the PRISM. All this scheme got Gati and Shakti only after Shri our secretary Shri Kantarauji joined Ministry of Mines. I mean, took the charge of Ministry of Mines. And let me also share with you that my engagement with Ministry of Mines for last more than 30 years, I've never seen a secretary who is so inclined towards research and development, science and technology.
मैं अभी बैठा हूँ यहाँ पे,
Sir,
मेरे सामने मत बोलो, मैं जाऊँगा उसके बाद बोलना.
So it's because of you only this. And February 24th, see, I added Gati for that. Can you believe that 2.5 months the scheme was launched and the sanction letter were awarded to through the 5 startups, out of which 4 were in deep tech and 1 was related to the software for developing the RE program. So this is how it started. Now the sanction letter were given on 29 February and the second PRISM 2.0 was launched on 1st March 2024. So that's the Gati this program is having, and this is there for till 30th of April. So I request all of you to be an ambassador for this particular program and promote this event. So we have good amount of budget this year for the startup program. So please promote this event and convey the message. Next, please. Just about the PRISM. PRISM is a scheme from development stage to the commercialization. The need, I mean, if you see the Industrial Revolution 4.0, it is more of a talent base. When there comes to a talent, there is always a shortage of the funding. So it was thought there has to be a financial support for the talent in the area of mining and metallurgy. So financial assistance for potential startups with, of course, it has to be a kind of a out of box thinking, innovative ideas to promote the ecosystem for a complete value chain in mining and metallurgy. Objective is also to bridge the gap between R&D and commercialization, because it is felt that R&D is happening in silos and commercial people are already working on that. So have a connectivity between them. This program is there, and of course to create a synergy among the academy, research, startups, industry, and the incubation centers existing in the country. Next, please. So these are the focus areas, like translation of research into technology, but not to carry out open-ended basic research. So here the rider, one more rider which I can recall for the startup is you have to start from TRL level 3. At least you should have a proof of concept for the process, product, or a service from where this startup can be financially supported. So what Ministry of Mines is looking for: prospecting and exploration of strategic rare earth elements. As you know, that success of a climate change program is going to depend on the renewable energy, is going to depend on the EVs, and these critical minerals are going to play a very important role in that. So this time the focus is critical minerals for the startup scheme. Then development of new technology for mining and exploration. Mining, it has to be different from the existing ones. Research in metallurgy and mineral beneficiation, as rightly Professor Karandikar said, we are 5th largest, but getting it out in the elemental form is a big task. Then production of materials of high purity. This is what the country is importing presently. So if we have to become Atmanirbhar Bharat, this has to be pushed. Extraction of value-added products from mine waste. A circular economy concept has to be applied, and more startups will be supported in this area. Research in mining methods, which talk about the development of the mining equipment also. decarbonization and development of green technology, for success program, climate change success program for India to become a carbon neutral by 2070. This is an important focus area. Development of new alloys and metal related products. Here what we have to see, we have to see a replacement of the import materials, whether it's alloy or the metals. Focus on extraction of strategic and critical in the elemental level. We are not worrying about the application. Once you have an elemental level, the strategic minerals, it will find the application by itself. Of course, improve the efficiency and the recovery and reduction of the existing processes. R&D to establish circular economy and use of recycled material. This is going to be the success story for a developed India by 2047. And of course, evolve low and capital energy saving processing system. The less energy, better the climate is. This is the concept what we are promoting. Next, please. Now, talking about the budget and financial support, up to 2 crores is the financial support for the grants of startups and MSME based. It will depend on the milestone. Actually, if it's a startup, the limit was 50 lakhs, but if it is exceptionally good and meets the criteria of Ministry of Mines for the startups, it can go up to 2 crores. Then setting up an incubation center, the grant of 10 crore will be provided, Ministry of Mines, and we are working on developing the guidelines for the same. Now, since S&T PRISM is to facilitate the creating prototypes for this, we have got 4 different sections which will be encouraged for this financial support. One is research and development, other is prototyping, testing, trials, and piloting commercialization. Here, I'd like to share with you that we presume that a lot of research and development has already gone in up to TRL level 3. So there should not be much demand when it comes to research and development. It should be more focusing on prototype, testing, trials, and piloting and commercialization. So that is a kind of a catch in your proposals to be submitted in the startups. Yes, some part of the financial support can go to R&D, but not the major one. If you require a major R&D support, you can go to the R&D research and development component of the Science and Technology scheme of Ministry of Mines. Next, please. Then the administrative setup, role and responsibilities as indicated in the video was given to JNARDDC, that's Jawaharlal Nehru Alumni Research Development and Design Center. The responsibilities of implementing agencies is to constitute a TEC committee which keeps co-opting the member as per the requirement, as per the proposal submitted, and organize the meeting. Due diligence of the beneficiaries will be carried out. This will be in terms of, entity in terms of the legal, financial, and commercial. Due diligence has to be there. Signing of agreement following approval by Apex committee, which our secretary is the chairman for that. Agreement will be signed between implementing agencies and beneficiaries. Sanction orders will be issued to beneficiaries approved by Apex committee, and of course, after the due diligence, and the final disbursement will be there, and there will be a monitoring on regular basis. It may be quarter, it may be monthly, depending on the progress made by the startups and the utilization certificate submitted by them. Next, please. Eligibility criteria, I think there are 3 categories in which the application can be submitted. One is a startup as defined by DPIIT. It has to have a turnover less than 100 crores, or it can be a MSME. A micro has to be a turnover less than 5 crores. A small enterprise has to be a turnover less than 50 crores, and the medium one has to be a turnover less than 250 crores, as defined in the MSME Act 2006. And the third category is the individual innovators who can apply directly, but they have to have a compliance of eligibility conditions, either matching with a startup or MSMEs before agreement is signed. And yes, more than one organization can jointly submit the application in partnership with consortium, registered societies, academia, so that flexibility is also there. So collaboration with academia and R&D programs will be encouraged. Every proposal must clearly identify a project lead who will be the nodal for communication, responsible for the project execution and signing the project agreement. So this is the eligibility criteria for this, and we also prefer that this startup should be attached to one or other incubation center which are already existing in the country. Next, please. Procedure for grant is like duly filed application submission before the deadline. This time the deadline is 30th April 2024. And then there'll be a preliminary shortlisting by implementing agencies depending on the criteria or the guidelines given by Ministry of Mines. Depending on that will be, there'll be two level scrutiny at TEC level. Second will be evaluation of shortlisted proposals by TEC, where a physical presentation will be made by the shortlisted startups. Then there'll be evaluation of TEC recommended proposals will be assessed by Apex committee. After that, the approved proposals, there has to be a due diligence, then signing of agreement and a sanction order. Then there'll be fund disbursements depending on the milestones. There'll be regular monitoring of the startups, and periodic reports and UC are expected from the startups. Currently accepting applications is till 20th April 2024, and you can see the two links provided here where you can download the applications. Next, please. Selection criteria, there are 5 criteria which has been put in the guidelines. One is technical feasibility, potential impact, novelty, commercialization strategy, and of course, how strong the team is. Technical feasibility, yes, the idea has to be novel and idea has to be at TRL level 3 and above. That is having a proof of concept, whether it's a process, a product, or a service. Then potential impact, environmentally sustainable. It should be like, if you talk about the waste utilization, by using the waste, you should not create another waste. So that concept has to be there. The market size, who are the customer demographics, this all has to be well listed in your proposal. Novelty, USP of the technology, how it is different from the existing one, or it is at all a new one. Then commercialization strategies, how we are going to promote the product, process, or the service in the coming years after the 2 years are over. And of course, the kind of experience and expertise the team have when it comes to technical and business expertise, who will be the mentors for this. The NRC will implement the S&T PRISM on behalf of Ministry of Mines. And here, the good thing is, like, the preference will be given to the startups from the Northeast region and of course, women-led enterprises. Next, please. Funding of the startups, as I showed in the previous slides, 2 crore is the maximum funding. And first installment will be after signing the contract and of course the due diligence. The 40% of the grant will be released. Second and third installment, it all depends on the milestone. If there are more number of milestones, then this 40% will be divided among those milestones for the budget distribution. And the last will be 20% of the grant will be provided on completion of project, submission of final report with a prototype product given to us. As I told you, the grant is up to 50 lakhs per startup, but if Apex committee feels no, it is something of interest to the country, it can go up to 2 crores. The applicant's own contribution to the project budget should be at least 25%. It can be in any form as listed in the guidelines of Ministry of Mines. It can be land, it can be building, it can be other support, manpower support. So that is how it is going to be the funding pattern for the startups. Next. Funding flow, yes, the first installment, as told, will be after due diligence and approval of the by the Apex committee. Further installments may be released on achievements of the set milestone. Yes, that will be the criteria for releasing the funding based on the recommendation or ratification if required by the TAC and furnishing of the complete utilization certificate. So this is what is required after getting the first installment. Then the final milestone may be made after third party. There will be a third party audit also before the final disbursement is made by audit by the expert committee, disbursement made by Ministry of Mines. And Ministry of Mines and implementing agency will conduct annual review of funds, disbursement, other activities like deliverables to gauge output and to approve activities for forthcoming year. It will all depend on the progress made by the startups during the period of 2 years. Next, please. Assistance and support, Ministry of Mines and implementing agency will be assisting a kind of a hand-holding will be done for fundraising. Startups can raise funds from various sources such as grants from other ministries, departments, and whatever support is required from Ministry of Mines and implementing agency will be extended. Business plan provide guidance on raising the capital. Ministry of Mines can interfere in there and provide the help. Pilots, enable pilots with corporation, PSUs, and universities, how to go from the startup to the pilot level. Tapping resources, facilitate startup participation in grant challenges, government scheme, how to line up these startups with the government scheme so it can progress very well and meet the requirement of the country. Then networking, connect with the relevant individuals, entities to facilitate R&D or connect with the incubators. This kind of assistance can also be provided by Ministry of Mines and implementing agencies. Last but not least is the advisory, provide strategic support for scaling up operations, getting you connected with the PSUs, expanding into new geographies and enhancing product. So this is kind of assistance and support which will be extended by Ministry of Mines and implementing. Next, please. Opportunities are, I've listed only 4 of them, but there are plenty. Market viability mechanism will be established to ensure products become financially viable. Collaborations with PSU, that is kind of high handholding provided by Ministry of Mines to collaborate with PSU to secure educational orders, to promote your product, to take it at the commercial scale. Public procurement policy for MSMEs will be also supported by Ministry of Mines, where 25% can be procured through the MSMEs. Sensitization and consideration will sensitize relevant agencies about the product and services. All the platforms of Ministry of Mines and of course the government platforms will be used for that particular purpose. Next. Now PRISM 2.0, date of announcement was 1st March 2024. Deadline for receiving proposal is 30th April, and we see that the proposal will be shortlisted within a period of month by May 2024 and evaluation by Apex Committee June 2024, and the award of sanction letters will be over by July 2024. So that is the schedule for the PRISM 2.0. So gear up, submit the proposal before 30th April 2024. Next. So this is a success story of PRISM 1.0. We had 5 startups. You can see the name of the startups and the area from which they belong to. 1.7 crores, 0.4, 1.5, and 1.2, except for one, which is based on the software. 3 were on the deep tech. So this is the success story of 1.0, and we'll prefer to have more numbers in PRISM 2.0 because the funding has also been enhanced now, and you have sufficient time to submit the proposal. Last time it was only 1 month time. This time it's 2 months. So we expect many proposals in this area. Next, please. I think that's the summary. The fund S&T PRISM scheme talks about the funding solution to have a connectivity between a talent and a startup, great opportunity for technology-driven startups, support to indigenize technology development, which covers entire gamut of activities in the mineral sector, from surveys to metallurgy, for the product development, for the new alloys development, and of course, this time the focus is critical minerals, alternative minerals, improved efficiency in process operations, recovery of byproducts, improvement in the specification and implementation norm, low capital and energy saving processing. So all set to make India a Viksit Bharat, a developed nation by 2047 through this startup scheme. So thank you very much for being part of us. Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir, for your nice presentation, giving the detail about our startup of mining in mineral sector. Now I'll request the Sri Amitesh Sinha to give his opening remarks and also make his presentation on the subject. Mr. Sinha.
Thank you so much. I think this is a great initiative, what we have seen from the Ministry of Mines. And special thanks to the Secretary Kantarao sir, as JNRDC Director was saying that he has made this possible. And we are seeing that with the results and the outcomes. So this is excellent. So I would like to talk about the Vedanta Spark program, which we are running, and we are supporting the startups. So here I will run you through a presentation where we'll talk about how we are supporting the startup ecosystem and how we want to make sure that we are just not supporting startups to come and work with us, but in terms of how do we create an ecosystem with the startups which enables funding, which enables them to test their products. Because the startups which we have worked with, what we have learned is that not only the funding which they need from the venture capitalist and other investors, the most important aspects of startups, especially in the deep tech and in the manufacturing sector, is how they can get a support to test their products, because deep tech requires a lot of innovation, a lot of patience to come up with the product. And some of the very critical mining assets, when it becomes accessible to these deep tech companies, are very important. So with this, we would like to just share as what at Vedanta what we have done. So I think why startups? So because startups are, agile. We have seen how flexible that can be. And I'll give you some examples where we have seen that when we were trying to solve certain mining problems, and how the large OEMs were not able to kind of come up with a solution, but we were able to do with startups. So the agility is very important. The innovation which is happening, I think it is a very fast track which is happening with the startups. Just for an example, there are several rotary sensors which we can put in our mining equipments. OEM does not have those kind of sensors which has come up with such a good innovation, but these startups are retrofitting, and these startups are able to do it at a cost which is very reasonable as compared to the OEMs. So the cost reduction, bringing the agility, rapid deployment is also very important, and the emerging technology kind of the research and the deep tech, what the startups are doing, we are able to derive from that. So with Vedanta Spark program, we are giving access to our assets, and we are working with several startups to enhance the outcome through the innovation and the agility which the startup can bring in. So these are some of the things why we want to work with the startups, how we are creating the challenges. We are working with our mining leaders across, because Vedanta is having a diversified portfolio when it comes to mining, be it zinc, aluminium, copper, iron ore, and so on and so forth. So the vision is we want to work with more than 100 startups. This is what our chairman, and this is what the funding we have internally getting. Now, Vedanta Spark, I think, is open for all. When we talk about mining, there are many AI and deep tech startups who can work with us. And as of date, we have worked with more than 80 startups, and we plan to enhance these number of startups to beyond 100 and do closer to 200 projects in this financial years. So we have a process where we take the startups, we screen them, then we put through the detailed analysis, and we engage with the startups. So this is a rough stat where we are in terms of startup. So all what we are trying to say here is, look, Vedanta, and I think with support of what the Ministry of Mines are doing, and with the JNRDC efforts, we like to collaborate, and we would like to see how we can bring more startups into the mining world, because it is a complex in nature. It requires a lot of deep tech technology, which requires a lot of time and patience. So we are here to support, and we see how we can create an ecosystem of the startups, which not only helps, say, Vedanta, but it creates an impact on the overall industry of the mining itself. And that's why we want to, be part of the whole synergy which we are trying to bring, and be part of the whole ecosystem. A very high level in terms of how we are, providing or working with the startups. We have the Connect program where we do the pilot. We have a kind of an incubator program which we are building. Gurukul is something where we partnered with university to see if we can do some specific research. We also have a CVC where we can invest and provide the growth related capital to the startups. These are some of the very high level, the projects which we are focusing. And maybe I invite any startups who are into this, and we have listed all the challenges on our website, vedantaspark.com. So in terms of, all these themes where we want to work in terms of artificial intelligence, automation, IoT, robotics, and drone and others, which are enabling to do sustainable mining and we are also focusing hugely of how we can reduce the carbon footprint, because carbon capture, which has come up, and we want to utilize those emerging technologies also to see how we can be part of the regenerative mining and reduce the carbon footprints, and be much more sustainable from a climate angle. So this is something which Vedanta Spark is doing, and I'm very happy that we are partnering with Ministry of Mines to see how we can broaden the scope. We can get more and more startups. And I think, look, in the VC world, we have seen something called Death Valley. And Death Valley is especially relevant for the startups who are into deep tech, because deep tech curve is so high when it comes to the initial effort. And there a point where you have, you have created a concept where you want to translate that into a product, and where Ministry of Mines with this PRISM program is supporting the startups is to support at the time of the death valley, as we call it in the VC world, is giving that grant. Because we have seen, if you see the history of the successful deep tech startups, and even OpenAI got a huge grant from Infosys and others. So that is a history, and that's how the nature of the deep tech startup companies is, that you need to have a non-dilutive capital support, which is grant in nature, to come from their research and commercialize and productize what that research can be translated into. So I think this is a great effort, and we are very honored to be part of it. And we look forward as to how much we can support and create and enhance this whole ecosystem. So thank you, Secretary and Farida ma'am, for having us, and we look for creating a much larger impact.
Thank you, Amitesh. It was always nice. I remember when I first started trying to do something with the startup. Edzedel was the place where I rushed to have an idea about the entire thing. So that's the reason why I thought that in today's webinar also I would like to have a participation of you and as well as in Hindalco in the matter, besides the academicians. So thank you, Amitesh, for the insight, and definitely we'll be working together in future also. And it's always you will always be a part of our all startup summits and webinars, which we will be having to experiential and encourage people in that. Thank
That's
you.
a huge compliment, Farida ma'am. It's a privilege.
Yeah, thank you. And now I request Rohit Pathak ji to please share your experience with us.
Thank you so much. And I think at the outset, let me share that it's a delight to be part of this session. Very happy to see such an initiative being the second iteration happening. Sorry, I was not so involved in the first one, but happy to see the second one take off. And not just as CEO of Birla Copper as part of Hindalco, but also I was heading the Indian Electrical and Electronics Manufacturers Association, which is the parent association for the electrical industry in the country. And there too, we started a startup program last year with the idea to encourage startups coming into the mainstream in manufacturing sector. Because I think, to me, the manufacturing and the core industrial activity is where, as a country, we have not drawn enough startups. A lot of it has gone to the software of the IT side, but I think there's a big opportunity. And let me just start with sharing a few basic things on why I feel this is very critical. All of us know that this decade, maybe even the centuries of India's, the geopolitics are in our favor. The GDP is, India is going to be the largest and the fastest growing economy, and we will be home to over 25% of the working age population of the world. Right. So I think these three, if you just look at these three macros, there is everything going in the right direction for India. However, I feel unless we really step up our game in manufacturing, where metals and minings is a very core element, we will not be able to capitalize on this opportunity that presents itself. And an important difference for us in building this is going to be that we need to find our own sustainable solutions that are a lot less resource intensive versus what the West has done in the past. I think, historically, even if you look at, and I've been closely looking at some of the startups that happened in India, many of them were started off as just copy of the models that worked in the West. And, over the years, people have figured out how to fine tune them. Same in manufacturing. I think we can't just follow what has happened in the West. We need to come up with our own sustainable solutions in how we think about building some of the industries and industrial sectors that are critical for India. As an example, I remember in the early 2000s when I used to visit China. At that point, it was a very clearly stated statement that they used to talk about, saying, look, we will not be able to compete on the normal ICE engines in automotive, but in EVs, we will lead the race, right? And I think in the last 10, 15 years, that is something that they have been able to do, where, they are leading in the EV market. I think in India now we have the similar kind of platform. The scale at which infrastructure is being built is amazing. And I think it is for us as industry, as startups, to leverage this opportunity. If you look at the uh, program for the rooftop solar that has been just launched, the amount of investments that it will require and the kind of models that it can encourage, a lot of startups can thrive in building solutions for making those work and make it happen in India, where we get to scale, which can not just serve the domestic market, but also the export market. And hence, for me, as an industry leader, there are three priorities as I look at startups. As Hindalco, we've been leveraging and working with many startups across domains, but there are three domains that we are very actively working on. One is around innovation, and I'll give you a flavor of the kind of things along the value chain that we're working on. But one is around R&D and innovation. Second is around quality, and how do we improve quality of what we make in India, because that's something which our Indian customer requires, and also for exports is a critical part. And third is around skilling. I think a big part of what IT and tech can do for us is accelerate the way we skill our workforces across the value chain. Right, that's, I think, a big lacune. A lot of models and startup opportunities are there for even skilling across the value chain for processing, metal processing, mining, and stuff like that. So I think for us, at least the way I think of our, startups is they are an extended R&D organization of companies, right? We as a country miss the R&D bus, but I think startups have given us an opportunity to leapfrog and drive innovation faster. So, for us, if we are able to give you the right problem definitions of what we're working on, I think, to me, working with startups is a faster way of, and a lot more cost-effective way, by the way, of working on R&D on new innovation and new areas than the typical R&D of investing ourselves. That was the normal way of doing business in the country. And I think that's a one big mindset shift that we are going through. And hence this, very happy to see this industry, academia, and government, triangle that is getting formed to drive programs like this, which are important for India. And copper and aluminium, which are two metals which we are big in, as well as many of the rare earth minerals, are going to be very critical in the coming years, right? Across applications, these are the four metals where you'll see a lot of activity. We are just scratching the surface at the moment, right? We have an opportunity to grow 10x in the next 20 years in each of these minerals if we really address it well. And hence, for me, the way I am looking at the startup opportunity, there are four distinct elements. There is, of course, the mining side and mining exploration side, where I think the secretary also mentioned there is a lot of opportunity on data analytics and geo mapping to discover a lot of minerals in India. India is one of the least discovered or explored geography in terms of mining resources. And there is a lot of potential, especially with drones and AI technologies, to drive exploration in the country. The ministry has taken very bold step of opening up mineral mines for exploration and composite licenses, which many of us as industry have got into. But to be frank, I think we need to build the technology to be able to do this smartly and fast, and that is where resources, startups can play a big role. The second big area is smelting and refining of minerals. I think this is a huge area. Even today, when we go for technology for building a new smelter or building a new refinery, you either have a Chinese option or you have a European option. The Chinese is fast and maybe not as reliable. Some of us resist going there. European, on the other hand, is very, very expensive and takes too long. Right? There is no strong Indian technology which is existing in many of these areas, and I think that's one, especially in the rare earths and some of the newer metals. It's an area where a lot of scope is there. There is a big vacuum for someone to come in and come up with new technology processing suggestions on how we can extract metal better, how we can improve the processing. A lot of AI we are leveraging, where we are now working with some startups in India to improve our process efficiency, build digital twins of our smelters, do thermal mapping of refinery to find things like shorts in the refinery circuits proactively. Uh, I think things around reducing and reusing a lot of the waste that gets generated in the processing setup, right? Whether it's copper smelting or whether it is aluminium refining, a lot of waste gets generated which can be reused for or repurposed for useful applications. And that's a very big area where I think many startups can play a very active role because it's a huge value creation. We end up paying today to dispose of that waste. Now, if you can create some value from it, it can, it's a win-win for all of us. Apart from saving resources, I think there's a huge potential in the waste handling part or byproduct handling part in metal processing. Third area is around downstream. A lot of products need to be developed in India. A lot of alloys, a lot of design options, where I think the startups can play an active role. For example, as we look at high-speed railways, there are many different alloys of copper which are required to be made to handle the high-speed railways. Right? I think big opportunity for new products and new alloys to be developed. You look at, like I said, the rooftop solar scheme. A lot of copper products today and aluminum products are not made in India. They are going to get imported from countries where we may not want to import material from. And opportunity for many of you to get into making those products in India, which provide you a very quick scale up if you get it right to indigenize and drive products in India. And the fourth area is around recycling. I think Dr. Agnihotri also shared JNR DDC has taken a step forward in that, where I think we are currently not doing recycling enough. A lot of what we do today is remelting and not really recycling, which can make products back to the original specification of a metal. And I think there's a big opportunity there to both look at the collection mechanisms, which are a different type of startup. We have the Swiggies and the Zomatos of the world, which have created a collection and a distribution mechanism, which can be leveraged for creating, the collection of scrap and recycling material. There is around a lot of technology required around the segregation and pre-processing of the scrap, and then of course around the final processing and recycling of this material into repurp or useful metal back again for the original use. Whether it's batteries, you look at, for example, the program of smart meters that is being rolled out at a scale which is no other country has seen, right? But while we launch and we set up new smart meters at homes, there'll be a lot of old smart meter or old meters which will be taken out. Big opportunity to recycle and leverage that material back into useful form through proper recycling. So I think recycling is the fourth area where I feel there is a huge amount of opportunity. As Hindalco, we do run programs on startups from time to time on areas that we feel are important. Every year we run 1 or 2 programs. A lot of it is around some of the digital technologies that we will need at our plants, as well as around some new products or areas of processing technologies that we would like to work on. Feel free to reach out. There is a huge opportunity, and we'll be very, very supportive to give an opportunity for you as startups to participate, try some of your solutions at our plants, and if it works, you can scale it up. Very happy to partner with many of you who participate. I strongly urge all of you to make the best of this scheme of PRISM 2 that is being launched, and participate in big numbers. And as an industry, we will be fully supportive for all of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and look forward to being part of this initiative with the Ministry of Mines. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit ji, for all your guidance in the matter, and we also look forward to be connected with you in future also, and participate in all our summits and guide us.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And before we could invite the next guest speaker, I would just urge the participants to just give your answers to the post that we have started in the webinar itself. Questions have been already posted in the webinar, and you can just go to the chat box and you can answer the questions so that we can have a fair idea about our scheme and about the Government of India initiative of the startups. So I'll request all the participants to please participate in the opinion poll itself. It is just opening for the next 20 minutes only. Be fast and just reply to the questions, as many questions as possible. Thank you so much. So now I'll invite the one Mr. Selark that I think we have funded in the first phase of our startup scheme itself. And he has been invited specifically to share his experience about the startup S&T PRISM program of the Ministry of Mines. So Mr. Dr. Sandeep Pandey is there from the Selark, and he will be just making a presentation about his experience about the startup scheme of the Ministry of Mines. So over to Selark. Swini Pandey, na? Ah.
Was I on mute?
Yes, hello. Yeah, now you're audible.
Sorry. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, I'm Ashwini Pandey, co-founder and CEO of Selark Powertech. Selark is basically a material innovation company based in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and we founded this company with a vision for the development of people, planet, and scale. Basically, at Selark, we develop materials for energy storage technology. So we develop material for cathode and anode for advanced chemistry cells. And the basic idea of development of those alternative material is to reduce the dependency of the critical materials that goes inside making these energy storage technology. And in line with our vision, we have come up with our first product that is high purity silicon powder that we use to replace graphite in lithium ion battery. And of course, the silicon powder brings its own advantages in terms of when we talk in terms of lithium ion battery overall performance. And if you look at the process of this silicon synthesis, we start from aluminum silicon ingot or aluminum silicon scrap. We do many chemical leaching process, and finally we have this silicon powder. And if you look at this entire process, we have many byproducts which have a huge value addition. Like in our process, we generate a lot of hydrogen. We generate aluminum hydroxide, which can be further converted into alumina. Now, since we are using this process in a very small scale, we are a spin-off company from IIT Bhubaneswar, and when we started this process, we were developing material only in the range of 5 to 10 grams. And later, right now, we are developing material in 100 to 200 grams. Now, in that small scale scenario, it's not possible to tap all the byproducts that we are producing here. So that's exactly we are going to do with the funds that we received from Ministry of Mines. We will be scaling up the production of this high purity silicon up to 25 kg per batch with the funds we received. And for the people, for the startups like us, the major challenge right now in the startup ecosystem, if I can mention here, is in terms of the scalability, the scaling phenomena. So just I mentioned that we right now we are producing 100 to 200 grams of silicon, and we are at a TRL level 4. We have already validated the POC. We are already developing the cell technology using this silicon material in collaboration with Indian Oil Corporation Limited. But the real challenge comes in terms of translating this TRL 4 to TRL 6 level, where we will be starting the piloting. And the challenge right now in the startup ecosystem is I have categorized in four categories. The first challenge is there is no, for translating TRL4 to TRL6, huge amount of funding is required for setting up the entire pilot scale setup. And those fundings are not available right now in a conventional grants that are available in the country. So mostly they limit up to 40 or 50 lakhs of the range. The second challenge that already mentioned by Mr. Amitesh ji, that very limited VCs are there who are interested in these kind of business, who are based on a very heavy asset business model, as well as long break-even duration is there. So the VCs are not interested to fund these kind of innovation. So that's another challenge. And the third challenge that I have observed, maybe it's not applicable to its entirety, but in the startup ecosystem, people understand the end product. So in my case, they understand the battery pack, they understand the electric vehicle, they understand the charging stations. But generally, they ignore the primitive material that comes that is used to make those consumer products. So that is generally ignored in this segment. And the fourth and most important challenge is there is no availability of dedicated funds for innovation that is happening in material and mineral innovation segment. And I'm really happy and I'm really grateful to Ministry of Mines that they have observed these challenges and they have worked on addressing these challenges in form of curating this S&T PRISM scheme for startup and MSMEs. I would like to summarize my experience so far. For the last 4 months, I'm involved in this PRISM 1.0 journey, and I would like to summarize this entire experience in 5 core segments. Like the first segment is the timely execution, and it's really commendable job done by the entire MOM team. The entire process of filing the application and and shortlisting the results and finally signing the MOU with the MOM, it hardly took 2.5 months. So it's really rare in any government grant scheme, and I'm really seeing this kind of speed first time in the entire startup ecosystem. The second thing I most like about this scheme is ease of communication. So the officials who are managing this scheme, they are easily approachable. You can communicate with them over WhatsApp, you can communicate with them over phone, email, and you can expect the reply within 1 or 2 hours. So they are really approachable. That is really missing in some other grant scheme. And the third and most important advantage of this scheme is flexibility of budget. So when we were applying for this grant, we were really skeptic whether we will get the grant or not, because our asking amount was a little bit higher than the 1.5 crore rupees. And this grant, as Agnihotri sir already told, that grant is designed for a maximum cap of 50 crore, and in some cases it can be given up to 2 crore rupees. So I'm really happy that MOM team did the due diligence. It realized the importance of the technology scale up, and they granted the money depending upon the requirement of a particular startup. And the fourth and most important part I observe is in terms of technical support. Being a startup company, we have certain lack of expertise for scaling up these technologies. And since JNAR DDC is nodal agency for this MOM scheme, they have a very good lab characterization facility for testing your materials. They have a very good pool of expert members who can help you to bring the expertise for scaling up the technology, and you can further bring down the overall cost of scaling up your product or innovation. So for the last 4 months, just recently in last 1 and 2 months, I could observe that kind of technical support that I can obtain from JNAR DDC team. And of course, the fifth part that is already mentioned by Agnihotri Sarji, that we, being a startup in this entire MOM scenario, we have a great opportunity of networking, because in all the stakeholders are well connected with Ministry of Mines, whether they are your raw material supplier, whether they are your potential customers. So those networks can be explored a lot being inside this scheme. So these are the advantages we generally get being in this PRISM scheme. So I would like to conclude by this, and I'm really thankful to entire MOM team for giving me opportunity and actually trusting our innovation and supporting for the scale up of this innovation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ashwini, for sharing your experience about our Ministry of Mines startup scheme. And I hope with your encouraging word, other will be just motivated to participate in our scheme itself during this phase 2 program. So thank you so much. And now I'll request the Caliche team, that's another startup that has been funded by the Ministry of Mines, to share their experience. And I'll just welcome Matthew ji and just request you to just share your experience. Over to Matthew ji.
Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. So I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, last minute. Last minute.
Sir, my screen is visible?
No. Only you are visible.
I hope it is visible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make it full screen. Yes.
So, first of all, before starting, I would like to thank the entire team of PRISM process for giving us an opportunity, and also to give a platform to share our experience about how we entered into this particular industry and how was our experience. So we are a northeastern startup. We started back in 2018. So currently in mining and mineral sector, what we are doing is we are developing software for RE exploration. So in the mining sector, we've been working in oil and gas sector when we started. So see, oil and gas sector and mining sector has a lot of similarities when in terms of supporting the economy of the country. So we were waiting for an opportunity. What if we can do something in mining sector as well? So that was one of the key factors. So there were obvious reasons why mining has very important role in the current economic situations for our global development goals. So we've been finding out what are the areas where we can actually work and on what platforms we should be reaching out. What are the other sectors we should be considering in development or developing technologies for, since we were a very R&D based technology from beginning. And that is the time we came across this PRISM initiative by Ministry of Mines. So from the beginning itself, we were very positive about the approach that Ministry of Mines had, because for the first time, such a very detailed overview of how startup needs to be supported. Because I was a part of the total process and when it started during the policy making itself. So it was very instrumental, I would say, and very thoughtful decision was made. And whatever points or each and every policy that has been drafted, that has been considered after taking a lot of inputs from the industry partners and even the startup. They've taken the inputs from the startups also, because Ministry of Mines have requested the stakeholders also to give your inputs on what needs to be added, what needs to be removed from the policy as well. So we would like to comment on the ministry's visionary leadership over here, and the dedication to promote that sustainable growth in mining sector, in deep tech, and supporting startups in solving problems in the mining sector. A few key factors I would like to mention for others who have joined here about this program. So it is actually open for a wide range of applicants. So it is not that it is limited for somebody. It is open for wide range of applicants, and of course, when it comes to applicants, the wide range of challenges are also addressed. So the challenges that we can actually develop solutions for, that number is also very high. So that means there is a wide array of places where you can actually figure out where your technology or your idea will fit in. And they have given an opportunity for startups, MSMEs also to be a part of this. And if you don't have any of these, you can actually, if you're an individual innovator and you have an idea which you think that will fit in the thrust areas, you can actually apply as an individual investor as well, innovator as well. So now this program, what I feel personally very uh, uh, what I feel very personally liking about it, because one thing, for an idea to materialize, so of course you do a lot of R&D in it, that's true, but when it comes to scaling it up to a state where the clients can use it, they need a lot of funding. So that funding is required. So coming to my fellow mate from Salak, he mentioned about it that the startup doesn't understand this part. So Ministry of Mines have been very instrumental in understanding this part. Now, I would like to add a few points about JNRDDC as well, avoiding them, this would have been not been as successful. So the team played a very pivotal role in supporting this initiative, even though it was what do you say, it was very new in the industry, but they've been very supportive in the end-to-end processes. So starting from the product, the proposal drafting, submissions, in-person presentations, documentation processes, onboarding processes, whatever you name, everything, whatever includes in this process, it was quite easy and smooth in the total phase. And I would like to thank JNRDC for this support that they have offered. So briefly about our experience with MOM. First of all, we've worked with other industries as well, but Ministry of Mines is very approachable from top to every level. The process of application was very easy to go ahead with very minimal understanding about the process, background process. You could actually, anybody can put that application. The eligibility criteria is kept very thoughtful. That is very commendable. The thrust areas identification was done on a thoughtful manner to, like for the project terms that they have mentioned, the thrust areas falls in, goes a very right fit, and the current ecosystem that we have in terms of development for the country, that includes the Atmanirbhar Bharat, they have included everything. The end-to-end support that they have given from the ministry, that was phenomenal, and extremely fast processing time. This is an achievement, I would say. The processing time from the day the proposal was submitted and the time that you got the approval letter. More important that Ministry of Mines really took care of the challenges that every startups is facing. For us, it was a very great support that they have offered. So going to our technology, what we are doing is we are in collaboration with JNRDC and GSI. We are developing RE exploration software for government, our India. So since we do not have indigenous software, so what are we? We are developing indigenous software so that it can be used in our for our country. So the Ministry of Mines have identified a lot of critical minerals. So this will be a game changer in that process for achieving the goals. So we categorized it into many subdivisions wherein baseline integer range data collection will be done. So that data is already available. Ministry of Mines has made it public so that we can work on it. So we will be doing a lot of data processing part of it, and the software will be built on that data processing part. So why we wanted to do in RE is because we identified that RE will play a very important role in economic development of the country, and being at the right place at the right time. Such a technology can always give a lot of mileage for the companies who will be working on this. So, for example, the stakeholders who will be working on RE production or extraction. So for them, it will be a very, very good help that we can actually offer. That's the reason why we wanted to work on RE.
On Dot, have you ever started your own?
So we call our the software as GARP. So what we wanted to achieve is we wanted to reduce the dependence on foreign software, improve exploitation efficiency, and enhance the use of data analysis capacity that we have. So we have the data, we have the access to the data, but what we do not have is that we have the gap that we have between these two. So what we are trying to do is build the gap between this. This is about us. We started as a oil and gas startup. We've extensively worked in R&D sector, and this is our first initiative in mining sector, and we are very, very happy about this opportunity, and we believe that we will be able to foster more innovation in the sector. And moving forward, in collaboration with all the entities involved, that is JNA, REDC, and Ministry of Mines, we will be developing this technology and will be sort of giving it to the clients to use so that we have an Indian software to work on. The collective expertise will be always helpful in innovation. One thing we believe in that mining industry has the capacity to lead the innovation in the sector. This is just a start, and with everybody's support, we will be achieving it in times to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. I think your encouraging words should also motivate the others to participate in our S&T PRISM scheme. And I assure all the participants that in case you submit your proposal, you won't face any problem at the ministry or at the JNR DDC itself. JNR DDC director is here and he is all supportive, very positive, and doing wonder in the field of the not only the R&D but also in the startups nowadays also. So in case if you have any problem in just drafting your proposal or just having any idea proposal also, you can just contact him also, or you can contact the ministry also, and we are all here to help you and support you to participate in our scheme. So with these words, I now Professor Asim Tiwari from IIT Mumbai to give his presentation and also address the participants. So over to Professor Asim Tiwari from IIT Mumbai.
Well, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen. What I have put is that I have put together the work which we are doing in the area of artificial intelligence, and AI is transforming the world in a manner which we cannot even imagine. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I'm also associated with a startup. Let me just share my screen. I'm also associated with a startup, and I will be talking a little bit about the work which is being done by them. But due to proprietary nature, I won't be able to share all the details. I'll give a high-level overview of what is happening. So this is now talking about the elephant in the room. No matter where you go, what you do, AI is there. AI is with us in our communication. There are AIs which are doing live translations of what we are speaking, transcripting that data, figuring out keywords, and every aspect of security, data, and inference is being looked at by AI. So this is about artificial intelligence models using multimodality data for linking lens scale for geological mineral exploration. I would like to specifically thank Dr. Balasubramaniam, Director, Distinguished Scientist and Director of NFTDC, because he and myself have been very closely working on activities on mining and aspects associated with mineral liberation, and geological exploration is one of them. Machine learning has been something which has been more of a recent phenomena as compared to AI. Artificial intelligence, the term itself was coined more than 70 years back. But it was machine learning which kind of captured the imagination of people way back in about 90s, when a lot of advanced machine learning techniques came and they were thought to become very advanced. Unfortunately, till about 14 years back, none of these techniques could do anything. And these are some of the most common techniques which we were having, machine learning techniques which we were having, which were based on information theory, which were based on probabilistic and statistical learning, and other kinds of regression techniques. There came a time in the history of AI when people thought that artificial intelligence will just be something which will be far inferior than human capability and human knowledge, natural intelligence. So AI could never exceed natural intelligence. NI is what was thought about. However, that changed. And this was the curve which they saw for artificial intelligence and machine learning to do, that as you gave more data, the conventional machine learning became fixed, and it could never have performance better than a level which was far inferior than human performance. But then there was a Cambrian explosion, in a sense, in the area of artificial intelligence. Cambrian explosion is an event which happened in the history of Earth about 550 million years back, when the evolutionary process suddenly became accelerated by orders of magnitude. Species after species started evolving, new species started coming, and the evolution became extremely fast. There are many theories which say what could have led to that, but there is no one understanding as to what really led to Cambrian explosion. But it is no doubt that that Cambrian explosion led to the formation of Homo sapiens sapiens, the humans. Had that not happened, we probably would have never come. So this Cambrian explosion happened on Earth in the history of evolution more than 550 million years back. But a similar Cambrian explosion happened in the evolution of AI. And this is started by a humble theorem which was proved in way back in 1990s, 1989 to be precise, which was known as universal approximation theorem. This is the holy grail of the current machine learning. This theorem says that a deep learning model can assimilate and model any universal phenomena to any degree of approximation. There is no phenomena in the universe which cannot be modeled by a deep network. This was proved mathematically, but it was only in 2012 or 2010 when people were able to actually make it happen. And this was possible by hacking a GPU, a graphics processing unit, which was used for gaming for PlayStations, Nintendo, and other aspects. So this is where a hardware which was made for gaming stations was hacked for deep learning. And this was the beginning of the current explosion which we see. And this is where deep learning starts. Deep learning is a phenomenon by itself. You feed it more and more data and give it more and more compute, and it will become more and more powerful. It's like you give fire, fuel, and oxygen, and it will burn like a rage. So this is literally like fire, and it is changing the world. And every year we were seeing things, every month we started seeing things. Now every week we will see things. It is found and said that AI is doubling its capabilities every 2 months. So just imagine how fast things are changing. This is much far cry from the 1.5 year for the hardwares to improve and double their computational power. Now, these are the two major algorithms in the deep learning network, recurrent neural networks and convolutional neural networks, which are leading the way. Recurrent neural networks are for sequential data, and convolutional neural networks are for spatial data. Recurrent neural networks came and became well known with ChatGPT, which is a unsupervised neural network, recurrent neural network based architecture. But what essentially they were doing was that they were able to surpass human capabilities, provided they were given enough data. Now, one needs to realize that in fields where you don't have a lot of data, conventional machine learning models are still better. So if you see, if you have less data, conventional machine learning models are far better than deep learning models. But wherever you have large data, deep learning models are far superior, and they are thought to be much better than humans themselves. And if you see, the convolutional neural network, which is for spatial data, is the kind of data which we have in geology. Now, there is something which we have a lot of, which is data. My team has been down bytes and gigabytes of data for small blocks from the website, from the data repository, which has now been made available. And that really is a huge challenge, because you have so much of data that you do not know how to handle it. As a matter of fact, we expect more than 4 petabytes of data to be used for our eventual models. I wonder how big a data center would be requiring. So we have just done some basic estimates. It would be about 40 crores to create a data lake with redundancy and compute power available to handle that kind of a data set. Anyway, nonetheless, we essentially are coming face to face with the problem of big data. Big data is when you have very large volumes of data. For instance, the .gbd files, GDB files, which you can download from the repository of our geological data. A small block would be at a lower resolution or a medium resolution, would be about 3 GB, 3 gigabytes. Now just imagine if you have to use your network to download such an amount of information, that itself could take a very long time. Then, of course, there is not much velocity. Things are not changing every day that fast. However, they do have a huge variety. So we have text data, we have data which is digital, we have data which is in XYZ format, images, TIFF format, grid format. So there are multiple different kinds of data which is available. Large volume and variety makes the data very, I would say, challenging in some sense. But the biggest challenge comes from veracity. As you would know, that the data is very sparse and discrete, and also sometimes error prone. Now, in this specific case, we have specific solutions which we have come up with, which can handle veracity in a very structured manner, and as a matter of fact, can use it. So what I'll do is I'll show you some of the examples of how the world has been using this big data for their individual mineral explorations. And then I will give you the framework. I won't show you the real data. I'll show you the real data. I would not show you the real outputs of that data. So this is how the world has been looking at the data: discrete data, spatiotemporal data, and spatial data. So these are the 3 basic kinds of data sets which are primarily used in our mineral exploration. Discrete data are data which are specific geological information coming from texts and literature and other aspects of laboratory experiments. Sequential data in this specific case comes primarily from drill holes, because you have now deep holes where the data is available. It's not that you have mines which are surface mines. And that is a very important aspect, because to be able to extract deep drill hole data, you have to learn and adapt to sequential data coming from that. And the spatial data, I just talked about images and all the geospatial data which we have. And in this, now what is happening is that we have been in the beginning looking at supervised learning. In machine learning, there are 3 basic aspects: supervised learning and unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. Supervised learning is when we train the data set based on known mineral exploration successes. So if we know there has been successful exploration and we have been able to mine these locations for these minerals, we use that input and output. The input is all the spatial data, geological data, and other data, which I'll just talk about a little bit in. And then the output is where we have been able to successfully explore things. However, as you know, we have very few places where we have been able to explore. Thus, we also use a lot of unsupervised methodologies, and these are really powerful. They are very, I would say, greenfield, because you really don't need any past data over there. However, there are possibilities of they identifying large sets of possible sites, much bigger sites than what a supervised learning could do. Just to give you an unsupervised model, which was very successfully used. This is the one which was used by combining geological data, geochemical data, and geophysical data. And it was able to look at copper deposits without necessarily having any output labels of copper deposits. So this was a very unique methodology which was used. And based on that, one could classify extremely good areas, weak areas, and moderate areas on a physical map. This can narrow down your exploration to a very, very small targeted regions where one can then finally do ground exploration and figure out what it is. It is expected that these explorations could range anywhere from 50 to 70% success. Now, this is coming from the aspects of deep hole sequential data where aspects of random forest and XG boosts were used, where the right side image shows that the estimate versus the actual value seems to show a pretty good correlation between them. Now, this is where you need to realize there is an underlying geological structure which need not be known beforehand, and thus your deep holes are only giving you sequential data. But you could use that along with the spatial data and come up with a model to figure out how the base will be changing. This is probably one of the most celebrated, I would say, thing coming from the Gobi Desert from Chinese publications, in which they were able to identify 5 prominent sites for copper systems. This was supervised, however, because they had several mines already known to them, and that really helped them identify 5 other locations, which they found might be even better than what they currently have. These black crosses which you see are where the deposits have already been found. And these white circles are where they were able to find that. And similarly, deep learning based mineral classifications and aspects of how easily it could be explored. So just coming to what really is the objective. So this is a startup company in IIT Bombay, and I'm now last 4 or 5 slides, I think. So this is where this company has been looking at objectives of identification, feasibility, and viability. This is a technique which they have developed, which they are clubbing under AI Explorer, where it identifies existence of minerals deposits. It looks at extent and size of mineral deposits and geological characteristics. That is under the identification. For feasibility, it looks at mineral liberation indicators. Can you predict that? Can you look at the technical feasibility and how you would be able to beneficiate the minerals? And finally, the viability. Is it economically viable? Is it compliance? Are the compliance with respect to regulatory and social considerations, economic as well as environmental considerations? And finally, risk assessment. So the way this AI Explorer works is that it has a very unique framework where they're using a combination of deep learning networks along with conventional machine learning models. So what it does is that it takes geological spatial data. And just to give you a sense of what kind of geological spatial data is being used. So this is, of course, coming from our National Geological Science Data Repository. And as you can see, you could have multiple different kinds of data coming from it. So I'm just skipping very quickly. But what I'm trying to say is that all of this data, and this is just for one block, I'm just showing a case study for one block, which is block 4. And we are superimposing various kinds of geophysical, geochemical, soil, geological, and other features. And I'm just switching through this to just give you a sense of what size of data is being used. And this is at a scale of about 50 kilometers. We can, of course, go even finer because the data at many locations is much finer than this. And you start looking at this data and you start looking at various elements at the same time. And then you are able to superimpose all of them. And to create that, you start by data assimilation. And then we have a novel deep learning architecture to extract features from it. So here the deep learning is being used in a little different manner. And this is a very novel way of using deep learning because we are not using deep learning for classification of regions which are high in mineral deposit or not. We are actually using deep learning to create features. These features are then used for machine learning models. And here there are 2 aspects. New features are being created using a deep learning architecture. They primarily do downscaling or upscaling depending upon what data they have. Then they use something known as a Gaussian influence circle because what you are looking at is that it's a grid. You have data points on a specific grid, whereas the mines could be at different locations, and you need to couple the 2 together. And by doing this, we are able to decouple the feature engineering part from machine learning part. These features, once they are engineered, they could be labeled for, they could be used for any training. And thus we have a different labeling generation step in the AI architecture. The biggest challenge I would say with the data is that the labels are not enough. It's very sparse and skewed. You only have successes where you have been able to find minerals. If we are able to also create data set of regions where we did exploration on the ground but did not receive any mineral of a specific kind, if that data is put, it becomes very powerful for machine learning to figure out, because machine learning doesn't want to only know where you can find something. What also does not work is very important, and that is not really right there right now. However, we have a methodology to do what we call as adversarial training. So we create a labeled data, which is adversarial data, and we also create fuzzy label data. We don't take a black and white data. Using this, we create features and labels, and then we use machine learning, conventional machine learning, for training, validation, and forecasting. Eventually, this will provide you a forecasting which will tell you on the spatial map what element at what level is possible at what region. This is a high level overview of our deep network architecture. We are having over 180 spatial data sets for a single block, which is 180 high resolution images, which is showing the XY variation. And then we perform multimodal spatial input data convolution, which is using the Gaussian influence circle. And then we perform downscaling or upscaling as the need be. And then we create decoupled features. We have over 350 dimensional data set coming out of this. Now, this data set has been already trained to be features which are most relevant. This is the most computationally intensive process. A small sized region could take about 80 hours on, two let's say, RTX 4090 24 GB Trinity GPUs. But once you have these features, you can use this again and again for doing all your machine learning on top of it, which means that you don't have to go back and spend that much time. You want to now use these features and the label data separately, and the conventional machine learning models are much faster. So to summarize, basically, I would say that the digital transformation is radically reshaping our world. The pace of AI advancement has literally outpaced any technology, and the central role is being played by data. And thus, there has to be a fundamental shift from our traditional technology to an AI-driven data technology. And that really is the fact for geological exploration. So we have to invest in the geological exploration, and I think this is a fabulous step which the ministry has taken moving forward. And I see AI can transform the way we have been exploring for minerals. And India is an unexplored vast area, and not just land. We are looking at sea as well. So we have huge maps from the sea and all the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, and we really would be able to perform the deep exploration in sea as well using AI. So with that, I'll stop, and I want to thank Ministry and Farida Madam to give me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tiwari, and for your detailed description about the AI in the mining sector. And we would like to connect with you in future also, and would like to use your AI in data analysis and mapping of our data. We'll get back to you on this separately. Now,
Thank you, ma'am.
Now to move forward, there is a question and answer session, but this being webinar and the large number of participants joining the webinar, maybe giving option to speak to all is difficult. So we have made it available through the chat box, and I request all the participants to leave their questions in the chat box, and we'll get back to you on this with the email IDs. We will on the email IDs from which you have connected to this webinar. We'll get back to you on all this. Just to sum up the session quickly, because there's another meeting to be held here. I would just like to thank all the participants. I personally feel that this is a very good session. I'm sure that all of you must have learned from this experiences of all the speakers who have spoken here. We have just given the poll also in this webinar, and the results I'm very happy to see that some of the, it gives us a satisfaction that we are moving in the right direction. Very heartening what I felt is that the people have said that what motivates them is the creativity and innovation that drives startups to for the entrepreneurship. And funding is one of the aspect which almost all majority have said that is a stumbling block in the scenario. So we are happy and we ensure that we are here to take care of this funding aspect of the startups. And my request to all the incubator centers and the people who are manning these incubator centers is to encourage your students and the startups connected with the incubation centers to apply for this. Our efforts will be, we already have a thrust area on the Satyabama portal, and but we will be working with a group of academia to find out, and the industry to find out the uh, specific problem areas for which the industry is looking for the solution, so that it becomes easier for the people, the innovators, to provide solution in that direction. And I would also like to inform you all that this present tranche, the date is till 30th April, but this is not the only time that we will be doing this. We have decided that we'll be doing it every quarterly or 6 months basis, 6 months basis, so that people who are not able to submit the proposal right now will be able to submit the proposal 2-3 months later. So it all depends upon the amount of proposals we receive, and we ensure that we will be doing our best to accommodate and accept the proposals which are promising in nature, and do it quickly as we have done it in S&T PRISM first. Thank you very much. If anybody would like to say from the speaker anything else, otherwise we'll close the session.
Thank you so much. And I think really, I must say, this is one of those areas where I'm feeling the government is becoming faster than the industry. So good to be in that position, and we'll fully support you as you drive this.
Thank you. Because see, it is we are doing it for the industry. Otherwise, you understand that Ministry of Mines is a regulatory body by nature.
Yes.
But just to interest and increase the mineral production, to solve the problems of the industry, ease of doing business, all these initiatives are being taken by ministry. And so participation of the industry is very crucial in this. So we expect that you all continue to collaborate with us in this initiative and help us to take it forward. So with these words, I close the session. Thank you very much, all the participants, the speakers, as well as the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
वो उनकी मीटिंग है भाई 1 बजे